Hello, welcome back. It's time for another TBR. I feel like the last one didn't last that long, but there is a reason for that. What happened was that I made the mistake of putting new releases, buddy reads, and other books that I had to read at a certain point in time on that list. And I didn't account for the fact that if I read all the other books first, it might not be time to read those books. So I had to take them back off that list, which means that I've read through all the other books. And I'm not going to get into all of that now. I will explain it more thoroughly in my monthly wrap up video. For now, all you need to know is that I've read all the books off of my last TBR that I'm going to be able to read at this point, and I will read the other books that I picked during them, like when they come up. Like I'm still waiting for one of the books to be released. So that's not going to happen just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and play my game again because I need more books to read. So this time I'm going to create a pile of possibilities. It's not going to include any dated reads. So no reads for my book clubs, nothing for the buddy read I'm doing, nothing that is like time oriented or managed. So I will be able to spend as long as I want reading these books. I'm not going to explain how to play my game. I feel like I've explained it 1,000 times. I will include a link in the description and at the end of the video so that you can go and watch my whole playlist of me playing this game. It's more or less so the same every single time. I am still going to be picking books until I have 3,000 pages worth of books to read, and hopefully this time it will last me a while. But once I've read through or DNF'd or unhauled all the books on this list, whatever I'm going to do with them, I will play the game again. So it may take me a month, it may take me less than that. It just depends on what's happening. I'm in a pretty busy time of the year right now, so I kind of am hoping to put some longer books on here because I want something to last me a while. I mean, a 3,000 pages is going to last me a long time no matter what I pick, or it's going to last me about the same amount of time, but I don't know. I'm just feeling like longer books. That's all I can say. So let's go ahead and start. My first book needs to start with the letter F. Okay, let's see what the spinner wheel gives me. A prize list. Okay, let me see what my options are. Okay, so for book number one, I needed a book whose title starts with the letter F and it needed to be off of a prize list. So I like sometimes, I think maybe, reading books that have in some way been entered for some bookish prize. In this case, I went with the Booker Prize because we're kind of in the middle of Booker season and I don't have a ton of books whose titles start with the letter F that would fit this prompt. And this ended up getting me Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. I'll put up on the screen what year it was nominated. Oh, it says right here. It was shortlisted in 2002 for the Man Booker Prize. I don't believe it ended up winning. I'll put on the screen what book did win that year because that'll be interesting, especially if it's not this one. Now, this will be a reread for me, but I have not read this probably since high school. And based on what I have heard about it more recently, I may be scandalized that I read this in high school. Or it may have not stood out to me because I recall nothing about what this book is about, other than if I am correct, it is set during the Victorian period. And looking at the back, this is like a later edition. So all the information on the back is just blurbs about the book. I'm not going to look it up right now in this second because that will be kind of complicated. So if I can fit a short description on the screen, I'll give that to you. But either way, it will be a reread. It'll be interesting to see if I have any stronger or more interesting feelings about it this go round. And I couldn't have read it in high school. If it won in 2002, I would have been in college. Did I read this in college? I don't know when I read this. I know nothing about this book, but I own it and it's on my TBR now. And it does kind of fit with the theme of my wanting longer books. This is 582 pages long, and it's the first book that's going on here, regardless of what it's about. My next book needs to start with the letter X, Y, or Z. I got this last month or last time I played and had a great pick. I have a couple more picks. I'm getting fewer and fewer books whose titles start with that. One of them is super long. Let's see what the prompt insists on. Okay, find a favorite. I can do that. Book two needed to be a book that starts with the letters X, Y, or Z, and I just needed to simply pick a book off my shelf that I feel like might be a favorite. And this was pretty easy to do once I looked at it. I am going to pick Yalo. This is by Elias Khoury. I'm not sure if that's how you say the last name, but there's a couple of reasons why I think I will like this book. One, I've read a few books that have been put out by Archipelago Press, and I've really enjoyed them all. I tend to be liking translated literature. This is translated from Arabic. And then the other thing is that it has to do with partially with family relationships. Like I believe, if I'm correct, that he lives with his mother and he goes through an entire horrible experience, it sounds like. And he ends up having to write and rewrite his own history. And I believe through that experience, he starts grappling with his family's past. I like stories that have to do with families. I think mother son relationships are interesting. And yeah, I am looking forward to getting into this, and I think it's going to end up being a favorite. At the very least, it's going to help me decide if Archipelago Press is a favorite publisher. So I can go with that as well. And this book, though it seems kind of thick in my hands, is only 317 pages long. So that'll be a nice shorter read. I need a book whose title starts with the letter M. All right, excellent. Let me spin the wheel. A free pick. Nice. I am noticing that the wheel is sticking to like the same one side. Like, let's shake it up a little bit. Before we go pick the book, let's shuffle a few times. Like, come on. All right. We'll see what that does when we get back. But for now, let's find our free pick. For the letter M, I ended up going with a book that I think was on a TBR earlier this year, or at the very least is one that I keep meaning to put on a TBR, and that is the Makioka sisters. This is historical fiction. It tells the story of, there's only three on the cover. Oh no, there are four. this young lady down here. But it's about four sisters and their journey in sort of navigating marriage and relationships, as well as trying to navigate the changes that are happening in Japan at the time where Japan as a whole is starting to consider incorporating more Western ideas into its culture and lives and community. Up to that point, it's been very much trying to stay isolated from Western culture. And so I'm guessing that some of these girls are going to want to stick with more traditional culture values and that kind of thing. And some of them will be more interested in Western culture. So it will be interesting to see. I've heard nothing but good things about this book. I've owned it for a while and I just keep forgetting to put it on a TBR. So I'm glad I remembered today. And the Makioka Sisters is 530 pages long. All right, I need a book whose title starts with the letter F again. Okay, I'm not upset about that because there is a book that I kind of do want to get to. So let's see if the wheel works out for me. Okay, not quite, but a pre 2022 wheel. Let me explain what this is and use it. Okay, for the letter F, I got a pre 2022 wheel. And basically, what this is I realized that I only have a handful of books on my shelves that I have hauled before 2022 that I haven't read yet. And so I want to knock those out because I feel like that'll just make me feel accomplished in some weird way. And so I've taken those three books and I've put them on a spinner wheel. And I figure this will also ensure that I get those books. So for this one, I'm actually going to ignore this letter and I'm just going to spin the wheel and let it pick randomly between one of the three books that I have left. So the three books are Assassin's Apprentice, The Sword of Kaigen, and With God in Russia. So two fantasy. One's a standalone, the other is part of a series, and we know that means I probably won't finish that series. And the other one is, interestingly enough, nonfiction. Do I have a preference? I don't really know. I'd say The Sword of Kaigen just because it's like a discrete novel and just one book, a standalone, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But fantasy really hasn't been doing it for me much recently. However, I don't know that I feel like the nonfiction, which is about a guy's time in Siberia, I don't know. So I guess just spin the wheel. That's why I'm letting the wheel choose for me. So let's spin another wheel. Okay, The Sword of Kaigen. It could have been worse, I guess. I don't know. I want to finish all three of them or at least attempt them. So let me go get the book. Okay, got the book, The Sword of Kaigen. Here we go. This is by M.L. Wang. I feel like, especially in the fantasy world, this is a very well known book. And it is one that I've been wanting to read for a while, but it's also a book that I picked up when I was reading a lot more fantasy. And so I am a little concerned. Am I actually going to enjoy this book, want to finish it? Am I going to just feel like, okay, yeah, typical fantasy things that I'm just not feeling right now? I don't know. But this book is very hyped. That actually also kind of worries me because I feel like hyped books don't always end up being as good as the hype. So I don't know. I'm already seeing there's like a character list at the back. It's 612 pages long. It is a standalone, so it does check those boxes. And I think this is also a mother-son story. So maybe that will help. We'll see. I'm not really feeling in a fantasy mood, and I've actually unhauled a lot of the fantasy that I bought during my fantasy period. But this is one of the ones that I just couldn't let go of because I've heard so much about it that I was like, I just have to try it before I decide to unhaul it. So I guess that's what's going to happen with this. Did I tell you how long it was? Did I say that it was 612 pages? I think I did. That sounds familiar anyway. Okay, since the last spin didn't actually let me use the letter F, I'm gonna just put it back in the deck of cards and we'll just give it a really bad shuffle real quick. And that way, the F can come up again. All right, the next letter needs to be, or the next book needs to start with the letter L. Let's spin the wheel. 25 and 2025. Have I read the book that starts with L? I don't think so, and I think I know what it is. For the letter L, I needed to pick the book that is on my 25 to read in 2025 list. I recently did a video where I updated that list, which is, I don't know, maybe not working in my favor. It was originally L'Adore by Mary Shelley, but I switched it because at the time I updated the list, I had really been wanting to read more Charles Dickens. And so on the list, I threw Little Dorritt. Yep, this massive book. This is 860 pages long and doesn't quite bring me to 3,000 pages, but that's okay. I cannot wait to read this. I've heard really good things about this book. I know there's a lot of people that say this is their favorite, or it's their favorite love story, or whatever it is. I'm interested to read a book by Charles Dickens that features a female character as the protagonist. At least I believe Little Dorrit is the protagonist. I mean, there's always a ton of characters and switches of POVs and that kind of thing. So we'll see. This does seem to fall more in line with some of his earlier works that are a bit more, I don't want to say necessarily always lighthearted, but more similar to David Copperfield, Nicholas Nickleby, that kind of thing. So I think I probably will like this because it seems like that's the style of writing of his that I like the most. And I believe that this one is supposed to be following Little Dorrit, whose father is in debtor's prison, and is an exploration of the debtor's prison and the debt system in England at the time, and just how it's not helping the families in the way that it's supposedly intended to. And yeah, I just can't wait to get into another Charles Dickens. And I feel like this will be a nice book to go through in the next couple of months. I have some trips coming up and that kind of thing. So this may be a good book to bring on one of those that I don't have to bring multiple books. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Little Dorrit, some Charles Dickens. Exciting. I need a book whose title starts with the letter O. Okay. A 5-star prediction. This is nice. I feel like I've made a wheel that I have come to appreciate and like, and it's less intimidating so far. Anyway, let me go find a 5-star prediction. And for the letter O, I needed to pick a book that I thought would be a 5-star prediction. Now, mind you, I did the math and I think I only needed a book that was 98 pages to hit the 3,000 page mark. And I had a few books on that shelf that were shorter, but I had to be honest, I just didn't feel like I could confidently say, oh yeah, that's stuff I'm predicting that's going to be a 5-star. For most of them, I felt like I'm hoping they'll be 5 stars. So I ended up going with the book that I felt like, based on what I've read about it, will probably be a 5 star. I've been told by some people that it's not their favorite of this author, but you never know until you try. And the book I'm going on about is Of Human Bondage. I've been wanting to read this for a while. I've never read it before. I've never read anything by this author, but it does have sort of the classic coming of age story. I know Philip Carey is supposed to be a sensitive young boy and he falls in love and maybe it's going to ruin his life. And that sounds good to me. Is it horrible to say that? Maybe. It's 611 pages long, so it's not a shorty, but I'm hoping it's a goodie. And yeah, I don't have any regrets adding this on. I guess I said I wanted a lot of long books or wanted to read longer books, and I'm definitely accomplishing that with this stack of books. So let me get them all together, maybe push you guys back a little bit so I've got some more room, and let's talk about what I'm reading next. Okay, here we go. We've got kind of a black and tan theme going on with the sort of Kaigen coming in with that blue. But yeah, this actually doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's 3,000 pages no matter how long the books are. And I've got a lot of other books and book club reads and buddy reads going on. And now that I think about that, quite a few of those are shorter. So it kind of works. I have some longer books in between. I do kind of like to go back and forth between a long book and a shorter book. And none of these are super long. Well, that's not true. There's at least, yeah, a Little Dorritt, I guess, is technically a mammoth, and the rest, a lot of people would consider fairly long. But I'm looking forward to all of these. I've got a couple of books on here that I've really been wanting to read for quite a while, so it'll be nice to finally get those checked off. I literally am checking off a book off of like my longest owned TBR list. And yeah, I think it'll be good. So, per usual, I will put the number of pages that these all total up on the screen for you. And I used to do how many pages I'd have to read per day to finish these in a month. But instead, I'm going to do how long I think it's going to take me to get through these all, or the date when I think I'll be done with these all. Yeah, that'll be an interesting guess. Feel free to guess yourself if you want to. And yeah, that's it. So that's what I'm reading next. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe because I'll play my TBR game again when I've got through all these books, whether it's the end of the month, middle of the month, beginning of the month, whatever it is. And let me know what you plan on reading next, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.